Hello.
And welcome back to another episode of Jack and Tom Save the World. As always, I am Tom.
And I'm Jack, and welcome back to the podcast, Tom.
Welcome back.
You've been sorely missed.
Yes, last week
the podcast.
Last week I took quite a bit of a backseat.
You did.
While you and Israel sorted out your differences, which accomplished nothing.
Yeah. Well, no.
You accomplished nothing.
No.
Last week's podcast, we accomplished nothing.
That is untrue.
It was just two nerds talking about nerdy shit.
Yeah, and that's fun sometimes.
And saying acronyms that no one understands.
You know, you've had a problem with it all week, and I'm sick of it now.
Yeah,
you get over it. Just because you were a guest on your own podcast.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was a guest on my own podcast. I don't like that. It's not Jack and Israel save the world. It's Jack and Tom save the world. And at the moment, worlds are not being saved.
Yeah, well, you've dragged me onto the couch, Thomas.
I have.
There's many a thing to talk about, but I think you have one specific thing in mind for this week.
I have something. And speaking about worlds not being saved, that puts me into our topic for this week, which is quite a serious topic.
Sure.
Quite a dark topic.
Yes.
That we are going to discuss. Pretty much to set the scene for everyone, if you've been living under a rock for the last 48 hours.
Sorry, I had to clear my throat.
That's all right. I don't know exactly when it happened, but about last night at 10 o'clock, I went on to my Facebook and I was just scrolling through before bed.
Because he's a pleb who still uses Facebook.
You know, because I'm a pleb and I don't want to go on Twitter or Reddit or anything like that. So I just do Facebook because, you know, whatever.
You must hate fun.
Yeah, apparently. This is why I do a podcast with you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, what happened on Facebook?
Well, on Facebook...
Is there microchips in the vaccines again?
No, that's already been proven that there is. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. I love my 5G.
Oh, so good.
Uplink. It's so good.
No, something actually...
What happened on Facebook?
Something actually quite a lot more serious than that.
Yes.
It was announced last night that Russia has started to invade...
Ukraine?
Yeah, Ukraine. So I've watched so many videos and read so many news articles about this today that I actually
forgot.
I don't know why I forgot how to say Ukraine.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Vladimir Putin has got permission from the rest of the Kremlin,
right, to
invade Ukraine.
Sure. So Vladimir Putin told Putin that he could invade Ukraine.
No. There's actually a higher power within the Kremlin.
Not really. Putin is the dictator of Russia. He does everything he wants to do, and whatever he wants to do goes.
Okay.
So it's Putin's word that goes, not anybody else's.
Right.
This is Russia.
So you know how our Prime Minister...
Yeah, but our government is not Russia's.
No, just listen. Now how our Prime Minister...
Yes.
...is leader of our country...
Yes.
But he still has to answer to someone. There's a higher power above Scott Morrison.
Who's that?
That was the Attorney General.
No,
the Governor General, sorry. It's the Governor General.
Sure.
Essentially, that's who Putin got the permission from to invade Ukraine.
Well, okay. I don't want to sound like a know-it-all, but Scott Morrison doesn't technically answer to the Governor General. The Governor General just makes sure that our government follows the Constitution.
Yeah.
Right? As for Putin, sure, there's probably a bunch of nice Russian propaganda that there's someone higher up than Putin, but Putin is a dictator and does whatever the fuck he wants.
Right.
That's the unfortunate truth of Russia. If Russia wants to dress it up like the Kremlin's given him the go-ahead, then okay, cool. Russia can have that.
Mm-hmm.
But Putin has an unbelievable amount of political power in Russia.
Yeah.
So I believe fully that this is Putin, but the whole situation is actually a bit of a mess on both Putin and Ukraine's part as well.
Yeah.
Which do you want to get into?
I do actually, because
Okay,
there's...
interesting. I want to test your knowledge on all your reading,
Yeah.
because I love it when you do this.
Okay, so obviously I've written down a lot of notes.
Okay.
Because I can't fit... I literally did this. I got home at like 4:30.
Oh, yeah, don't rub it in everyone's faces that you get home so early.
Literally got home at like 4:30.
Yes.
After I dropped some stock off at our other store.
Yes.
And came home and went, right, I've got to get ready for this podcast. I pretty much need to know everything about the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Yes.
Because I was the one who put the topic in.
Yes.
It was going to be something else, which we will talk about at a later date because I still think it's important. But this is worth talking about.
Okay.
More than what that other
Interesting. Okay.
other thing was.
Yes.
Because this is national news. This is a really big deal.
Yes.
So essentially, what I've discovered, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I was cramming this afternoon, but what's happened is that the invasion of Ukraine kind of started as soon... Because, like, obviously, Ukraine and all of these other countries, including Russia, were a part of the USSR, which is the United States of Soviet Russia.
Yes. Soviet Union.
Yeah, the Soviet Union, which actually broke apart back in 1991.
It did.
So then all of these countries that were a part of the Soviet Union, which is pretty much like a fancy way of saying Russia.
It was past Russia.
Yeah, it was past Russia.
Yeah.
So back in 1991, that all broke up.
Yes.
That was... Everyone went their separate ways. And
Countries got their independence.
yes, countries got their independence, including Ukraine. Right. So now everyone's probably thinking, like, oh, this isn't such a fucking big deal. Like, what's the point? They used to be part of Russia, now they're not. Blah blah blah.
Well, they weren't a part of Russia. They were part of the Soviet Union.
Well, it was the United States of Soviet Russia.
Yeah, but
It's what the USSR was.
Soviet Union,
Which is
a little different.
Which is called the Soviet Union.
Yeah, but it was a little different.
I know it's a little bit different,
It's
but
a
what
little
I'm
bit
saying is the actual name,
Sure.
United States of Soviet Russia,
Sure.
means that all of these countries were a part of Soviet Russia.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Which is a different way of saying it.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we've got Soviet Russia, and now we've got modern day Russia.
Yes.
And,
The Republic of Russia.
yeah. And, Ukraine and Belarus and, all of those places.
Azerbaijan.
Yeah. All of those places that used to be a part of the Soviet Union.
Yes.
Now, like, obviously that's a big deal because, Russia is, as you said, a dictatorship.
Yes.
So under the careful dictatorship of Vladimir Putin. Putin? What the fuck am I saying?
Putin.
Putin.
No, I like it how you say
Putin.
Putin.
Vladimir. That kind of thing. Sorry, don't copyright us.
Yeah, please don't.
But yeah, because I was watching videos today about this, and it's actually interesting. I will get into the actual invasion and how that kind of came about. But first of all, I don't know. You may know. You probably do because you're a fucking know-it-all. But I kind of
Don't out me like
I
that.
kind of wonder, especially if you know exactly why Russia, because obviously there's something to do. It's to do with Russia. It's to do with Ukraine. It's to do with NATO.
Yes.
Those three things. Do you know why Russia is so keen?
Well,
No, I'm not. I haven't finished asking my question yet.
Yeah.
How can you answer
yeah,
a question if I
okay,
don't finish?
I get it.
Do you know why Russia is so keen on Ukraine staying neutral?
Them staying neutral? No. As for why Russia's being really intense on this, that is a long history. If you want me to get into that, we can. Because this all kind of started just kind of like loosey-goosey in a way.
Well, it started between, from my understanding and what I've read, it started somewhere between the late 9th century and the mid 13th century.
Oh, no, I'm not even talking that far back.
I'm talking that far back because
Of course, Ukraine used to be its own region.
No.
That had declared... No, well, it had its own people inside of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, but what happened was that... So back then, in the late 9th century to mid 13th century, Russia as a whole, like obviously it wasn't called Russia until the Soviet Union broke up. So that was after 1991. But what we know as Russia today was never as massive as what it is now.
You can still call it Russia before the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
People know what you're talking about.
So Russia actually started during those time frames, but where Russia actually started, and this is what I found really interesting, what kind of shed some light on it, is it actually started in a place in Eastern Europe called Kievan Rus,
Yes.
which is now the Ukrainian city
Yes.
of Kiev.
Yes.
So Putin's really holding on to his history and the fact that people, because Kievan Rus is culturally significant to three countries, especially three countries: Ukraine.
It's like Jerusalem all over again.
Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus.
Yes.
So that's what he's kind of holding on to.
Well, yeah, he gave a pretty Hitler-esque blood and sweat like speech.
Yeah, no,
when he was talking about Ukraine, it was quite weird.
Yeah,
it's like it harkens back to that Jerusalem discussion about like a split city. But yeah, you can continue. It was a very blood, sweat, Nazi, it belongs to us kind of esque speech.
Exactly.
It's kind of gross.
So that kind of all happened.
Yep.
So that's where Russia started. Russia actually started in what is now present day Ukraine.
Yes.
So the fact that Ukraine, because at the moment NATO, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, organization.
Look at that. Look at you go.
I know. I've done a lot of reading.
Just before we go on, do you believe NATO is good or bad?
I haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay.
I will get to that later in the episode, but I'm not quite at whether NATO's good or poo-poo.
Okay.
So what happened was that NATO is this big fucking military alliance.
Yeah. Well, let's just go with that.
Essentially. But it's set up as a defensive alliance.
Yeah.
So it's
that we're not a part of,
no,
everybody.
That we're not a part of.
We're not part of NATO.
So it actually says in their in one of their agreements when they were actually creating NATO, is that they won't actually go on the offensive at all. It's just defensive measures that they'll use.
Yep.
So it's pretty much like a big group of people, a big group of countries that go, well, like if someone's going to attack the US,
yes,
then that's an attack on
us.
On us, like, Canada and,
everyone on the Atlantic.
The UK and France and stuff like that, and everyone that's involved within NATO.
Yeah, which is most countries on the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. Now, Russia, and I say Russia very, like, pinholey because I don't speak for the Russian people, and I'm not a Russian expert.
Yep.
Neither of us are, so this isn't actually, like, this is just our interpretation of what's happening. So, what I found out is that Russia, aka Putin, hates NATO.
Yes.
Because
he's not a part of it.
It's actually not that he's not a part of it.
I know, but it's such a simple explanation for why he doesn't like it. He's not part of NATO.
No. So generally, there are three trains of thought about why Putin hates NATO.
Sure.
The first one is that everyone in NATO sees them as a mutual defense agreement.
Yes.
So it's just going to be defensive. We're not going to go and attack people and bomb people and kill people, blah, blah, blah. That's for the Russians to do.
Sure.
But Putin believes that NATO is not purely defensive. So it can actually be...
Yeah, the US did kind of start a war in Iraq using the power of NATO for no reason.
Exactly.
So,
but Iraq...
He's got a point there.
And Iraq is not part of NATO.
No.
So that's the thing.
No Middle Eastern countries are part of NATO.
There are some points here that I look at and I go, okay, like, whatever. The second point is that everyone in NATO thinks that it's just a military alliance.
Sure.
So it's like, that's all it is. It's just a group of countries getting together, joining the militaries together. You attack one, you attack all.
Yes.
Putin believes that it's for political and cultural changes.
I actually agree with him there.
Which it is.
Yes, I agree with him.
Because NATO is one of those things where if you put in a bid to be a part of NATO, there's this whole membership process where you have to go through and go, right, you have to conform to what we believe is the superior form of society.
Sure.
Which is democracy.
Western democracy.
Western democracy.
And Western culture.
Exactly. So that's why they're kind of doing that. And then obviously everyone thinks in NATO, they think that NATO is a post-World War II phenomenon. So it's like just something set up after World War II as a military alliance to protect the countries that are in it.
A lot of the countries that... I can see the logic behind that. A lot of countries prior to World War II had conflict with each other.
Exactly.
Prior to World War II and then prior to the formation of the UN and NATO.
Yep. Putin believes that it's going to continue anti-Russian policies.
Well, the whole world is kind of anti-Russia.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Like, there are some things in here that I agree with.
Yeah, because they're...
Like, from Putin's point of view.
They're atrocious human rights.
Because there are, like, as Jack said, the US started a war in Iraq with the help of NATO for absolutely no reason.
Well, they had a reason. The reason was just false and stupid.
They also started a war in Libya.
They did.
With the help of NATO to catch Gaddafi.
They did.
So that's the thing. And there is actually 3 instances where NATO sent out, like the NATO alliance, sent out bombs to non-NATO countries because of the, I think it was the human catastrophe, like the societal catastrophe or something.
Yeah, they declare something as an attack to justify defense.
Exactly. So
like all of Iraq and Afghanistan was declared defensive measures because of 9/11.
Yeah.
Which is I say sure.
Now, just bear in mind there are 30 members of NATO currently. Yep. They include, and I'll go through all of them.
Here we go.
Go through Albania, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Montenegro, Netherlands, North Macedonia, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Turkey, the UK, and the US.
Yeah, so Europe and the other countries that border the Atlantic Ocean.
Europe and the Americas.
Yes.
And anything there.
Not even all of North America, because Mexico's not there.
Yeah. So, kind of what's happened... So, yeah, so that's kind of like the history.
of NATO.
So, what's happened is that... And I don't know exactly when this happened. You might have a bit more information.
I do.
Is that Ukraine has put in a bid to be a part of NATO.
Yep.
Do you know when that happened?
I actually don't.
Okay.
I don't think it very much matters.
Doesn't really matter.
They put in a bid to be part of NATO.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of...
After 2014.
Yeah. So that's kind of what kicked off the whole thing, because, like, 2014 was a little bit of a shit year as well. Mm-hmm. Because I believe, as it happened, Ukraine put the bid into NATO to be a part of the alliance. Mm-hmm. And then Russia was like, fuck no, this is bad.
Okay.
We don't want NATO on our border.
Okay. Do you know the kind of history around that point of Ukraine? Did you get to that kind of point?
What point?
So in 2013, 2014, Ukraine actually elected democratically a pro-Russian government.
Yeah.
This didn't sit well with the United States.
Right.
And NATO, but mainly the United States. And through, classic United States things, used the CIA, because that's what the United States loves to do, armed the Democratic, rebels, the anti-Russia Democratic rebels, to basically overthrow the pro-Russian government in Ukraine. That was kind of like the Ukrainian Civil War. And a more Western democracy that was anti-Russia was installed. And that's how Ukraine's current president resides over that CIA-installed government.
Yeah.
This didn't sit well with a specific part of Ukraine whose territory is slipping my mind. Anyway, they decided to secede from Ukraine.
Yep.
While I fully agree with seceding from a country you don't agree with in all aspects, you can't just secede from your country. It doesn't really work like that. The last time a massive part of a country tried to secede from the other part of the country, it led to the U.S. Civil War. You know, all the southern states were like, we don't like what you're trying to do with the Constitution, so we're going to secede. And the Union said, you can't do that. And so, boom, there was a war.
Yeah.
So this little region, which declared itself pro-Russia, decided it was going to secede. And, you know, it kind of just then went under the radar that this little section was secede, was its own territory. So this was pro-Russia, and Russia has for a while defended that zone. So anytime
They're still defending that zone as we speak,
which is part of the invasion of Ukraine. So they were defending it, and you might have seen for the past couple of years, you know, tensions in Ukraine over that zone.
Yeah.
As Russia defends it as if it's part of Russia.
But it's also not own. This is what I found out today. It's actually also not just those two zones. So you've obviously got those two zones that Russia currently, with the invasion of Ukraine, Russia is looking at those zones and going, "You're safe. We're not going to touch you here because you're."
Well, they form it as part of their border to Ukraine.
Exactly.
This part is part of Russia. What the border of this territory is actually the border of democratic Ukraine, if you will.
Yeah. But that's what Russia thinks. So that's not actually a part. Those territories are still a part of Ukraine, but they don't follow the same government regime as what Ukraine does.
Yep.
There's actually a really interesting little bit of land, well, not a little bit, but a massive bit, down the bottom of Ukraine called Crimea, which actually in 2014, the Russians invaded Crimea, took over all of the military outposts and overthrew it and actually invaded it and conquered it as a part of Russia. So Russia's still kind of like Crimea is a part of Russia. It's in Ukraine, but it's a part.
I think it's pronounced Crimea.
Or Crimea or whatever.
That sounds closer.
Anyway. That's part of Russia.
Yes.
And that's the whole thing about it.
Yep.
So, like, Russia since at least 2014, they've had something in their mind that Ukraine is not what it cracks up to be, and Russia's going to take it upon themselves to do something about it.
Yep.
Which ultimately has led now to this invasion.
Of pretty basic standards of invasion. You know,
pretty basic standards with 190,000 troops on the ground.
On the border, they haven't crossed the border yet.
They have.
Troops have not crossed the border.
Yes, they have.
Not yet.
That's the whole conversation that's been going on all day. That troops have crossed the border.
Are you
from
sure?
Russia into Ukraine.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Don't fuck with me on this.
I'm not fucking with you. I'm just making sure we stay the true. Stay to the true.
I have seen the videos.
Ooh. Are we gonna? Ooh, okay.
I've seen the videos, and I have seen the footage of all of this, of them crossing from Russia into Ukraine.
Interesting. Okay.
And they are currently, as we speak at the moment, they're currently moving on the city of Kiev.
Okay, yes.
Which is very, very much in democratic Ukraine.
Yes. Okay.
So yes, the Russians are invading by force Ukraine.
I don't think you can invade without force, Thomas.
Well, I mean, you might be able to.
No, not into a...
Well, they're invading... Okay, fine.
They're invading.
Shut up. They're invading Ukraine.
They're invading Ukraine. Okay.
Which kind of gets to the point now... We've all kind of been looking at Russia for the last couple of weeks, like very strictly for the last couple of weeks. Obviously, back in 2014 when they invaded and conquered Crimea,
yep,
the Australian government slapped sanctions on them about that.
Yeah, we do that with everybody.
Yeah, we do that with everybody, and they're now slapping more sanctions on Russia for the Ukraine invasion. Which, you know... Don't send anyone in to help, but...
Well, I don't think we should, but we can get to that. Sanctions can work sometimes. The Commonwealth sanctions on South Africa helped end apartheid. So maybe sometimes they can help, sometimes not so much. It's kind of what bureaucrats do in times like this. Is just slap sanctions because it's easy.
Yeah.
It's really easy to slap a sanction.
But what's really interesting about this is that we've been so focused on Russia, like the tensions between Russia and Ukraine, that not very many people, some people have, but not very many people, especially mainstream media outlets, have actually been looking around at Russia's allies and people that may be could possibly be used to aid Russia in carrying out this invasion.
Okay, Russian sympathizer.
Right, so I'm just going to do this thinking for you because I've already got it written down.
You've got down Russia's allies. Nice.
Well, not all of them, just one.
Some of them.
Just one that I find really, really interesting.
Yeah. Is it China?
No, it's Belarus.
Ah.
Belarus.
Okay, interesting.
Because, so what happened was that there were obviously Russian troops because Belarus also borders Ukraine and Russia. So Putin had moved the troops all along the border of Ukraine, also moved them into Belarus.
Sure.
Now, the only way, this is where I go to my notes. The only way he could do that is if he got the permission from the Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko, who we have not spoken about on this podcast, but have spoken about previously. So the troops have moved back. They kind of covered it as a training exercise, like as military drills with the Belarus army. And then they were like, okay, cool, like, we've done our drills, it's time to go home. And they was like, yep, no, we're going back to Russia now. We're not going to stay in Belarus, we're going to go to Russia. They did stay in Belarus.
Yep.
And there's actually something coming up now that they may be using members of the Belarus army and armed services to aid in the invasion of Ukraine.
Yep.
Because there was a really
sounds about right.
Because there was an interesting thing because Lukashenko actually denied having any involvement in the Ukrainian invasion as of currently. But then he went on to say in another interview, another press conference, that Belarusian troops will be used in invasion efforts if needed.
Interesting.
So he's pretty much saying we haven't done anything in Ukraine. But it doesn't mean we're not going to do something in Ukraine. Now, the thing that really kind of shits me off about this, and this
yucks your yums, does it?
Doesn't it? It just yucks my brain.
Yucks your brain.
Is that the one thing that there were two things that Putin said in his address that he was invading. Well, he never uses the word invasion.
Invasion. No, he doesn't.
And he will never say it.
No.
Just like China's not saying it. China knows what it is, but they're not saying it. So, what Putin said is that he's moving in troops for a special military operation to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine.
There are a bunch of it is actually strange for a Jewish president. Ukraine has hidden Nazis knowingly in its country before, so it's a bit strange.
But the funny thing about it is that he goes on, and it's the denazifying for me, because he goes, all right, he pretty much goes, there's matters in Ukraine at the moment where there's human rights violations, there's genocide, there's abuse that's currently going on, and that needs to stop. So we're going to invade Ukraine, where we're going to abuse people, take away their human rights,
and probably do a
genocide of Ukrainian citizens. So, like, they want to denazify Ukraine by Nazifying themselves to then do... Because there are so many similarities to what Putin's doing right now and what Hitler did back in the 40s.
Sure.
It's actually... It's scarily similar. But
Interesting.
So the thing about it is...
Well,
if you...
well, you say that, but Russia as the Soviet Union was passionately anti-Hitler. Passionately.
Which is what makes it worse. Because you can be really anti-Hitler, like back when Hitler's this massive thing and he's going around doing, this whole racial genocide. All genocides are racial, I think. I don't know. Anyway,
genocide is just a general population.
Yeah. So it's like it's full on racial genocide, and everyone went, "No, don't think you should be doing that, Adolf." And he was like, "Shut up! I'm gonna kill everyone. I'm gonna kill the Jews."
Nice summation of.
I'll put a content warning up just in case.
Nice summation of the Holocaust there, Thomas.
Yeah. Sorry. No, but that's the thing. Like he killed hundreds of thousands of Jews.
6 million.
Yeah. There we go. That's
not well. It is hundreds of thousands,
that's
but
6,100. You want me to be wrong, but I'm right.
No, you're not.
6,000, 60,100. Wait, did I get the math right, or was it just my wording that you?
No, not only is your math a bit off, your wording is just weird.
Yeah, well, I had to go on I just said hundreds of thousands.
Okay, here's a way of thinking about it. A billion is 1,000 million. Okay?
Yeah.
So 6 million would be...
$10?
Oh, God.
I don't fucking know. It's not 10, but because that would be really, really weird if it was. But I don't fucking know. I'm trying to make a point, and you're being pedantic about the math.
It's 6 million. Just say 6 million.
Okay.
We'll just say 6 million.
Okay, it's 6 million. How much is that in hundreds of thousands?
Really? You still don't know?
Well, you can sit there and stare at me all you fucking well like, mate.
60 100,000s.
That's what I said.
Oh, is it?
You fucking idiot.
I thought you said...
God, you're a fucking dickhead sometimes. Jesus.
Is that what you said? I thought you said 6 100,000s. And I'm like, that would be 600,000, Thomas.
Oh, no. Sorry. I think I said 6,000. I said 6.
Welcome to the math podcast.
I don't know. Anyway.
Moving on.
I don't
6 million
I don't
Jews,
give a fuck anymore.
6 million Jews,
6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. Content warning.
Yes.
We'll put a content warning on this episode.
Sure.
For Holocaust themes.
Anyway.
But that's the thing, everyone, well, not everyone, but the vast majority of people stood up and went, nah, this is fucked.
The Allies did.
Yeah.
The neutrals didn't.
Yeah. This can't be allowed to go on.
Sure.
So they stood up,
well,
they went for World War II, and just went, fucking...
Well, World War II started before the Holocaust.
It was happening during World War II.
There you go. So it was while we were fighting World War II, Hitler was doing this other thing, and we were like, well, we should kill all of Germans.
See, this is what...
to stop the Holocaust.
I'm sorry, but this is what I'm fucking talking about. You go back...
Yes.
You go back to World War II. The World War II is the fucking world in a war right now.
Yeah, the Allies versus the Axis.
I don't care!
It wasn't the world. We call it the world.
Then it's World War. It's the World War.
Yeah, okay.
War of the World, starring Tom Cruise. No, but we're fighting a semi-global war.
Yes.
And then Hitler decides, I'm just going to kill the Jews now. It's an oversimplification, I know. But still, like, it's still the premise.
Is this somehow to do with Ukraine?
Yes, it is.
Can we?
Because we've got a fucking. This is where it links in. We've got a fucking. We've got a fucking global pandemic right now.
We do.
The ice caps are melting.
They are.
The atmosphere is fucked. We're
Yes.
probably all going to be dead in like 200 years, if
Yes.
not before.
Yes.
And Putin goes, you know what? I'm going to start a fucking war.
Sure.
I'm just going to start a fucking war because you know what? I feel like it.
Because blood, sweat, and tears were laid in Ukraine by Prussians. There we go.
Because
Reasons.
no, and literally his own like there are lots of reasons, but the oversimplification of the invasion of Ukraine starting is fuck off NATO. We don't want you here.
Yep. And I
You what?
is it? I don't want to be pro-Russia.
No, but you're going to be pro-Russia.
No, but I can understand not liking NATO because I don't like NATO.
Yeah, but you're not a dictator of
Sure.
one of the biggest superpowers.
But I can
one of the
understand not
biggest-
liking. I can understand not liking NATO. I don't like the Australia's part of Nine Eyes. It's why we're spied on by the United States. Is because the Australian government allows the United States to spy on us.
Yeah.
For the sake of national security on foreign soil, so that we can spy on other countries. And in doing so, the US can then spy on us. And I think that's absolutely atrocious. Like, it irks me, Thomas. It irks me. And the invasion of Ukraine irks me too. I don't know.
Does it really irk you?
Yeah, because I feel like it's a lot of dick wagging, and I don't even think it's going to go anywhere. A lot of people throw around World War III, and I'm like,
I think the thing you have to consider here is that obviously Putin's thought about this for quite a while.
Sure.
This has always been his kind of plan. Everyone just
always.
everyone
when he was born.
Everyone just thought he had too small of a dick to actually do it. Because that's the thing. Everyone underestimated him. They all went, nah, he's just showing off. He's not.
Well, I don't even think I thought this at the beginning. It was like he's dragging his foot. I don't think he wants to invade Ukraine. I think a lot of this is NATO trying to make an enemy out of Russia because they don't have an enemy at the moment, and all of their economies are fucked, and war would actually be really good for the economy.
But do you know why? Do you actually know what Putin's demands were to NATO?
No. So I don't really care. But what were they?
Right. So to stop, he pretty much said, "I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do something."
What is this voice you're doing for Putin?
It's Putin.
You've got to get the Russian accent like this.
Excuse me, I'm going to do. Fuck, that's not it.
Do you want? No, it's called Kiwi, mate. You got to do.
I am going to do something very, very bad.
That's better.
And
That's
if
better.
you don't... Okay, there are 3 things that you can do to stop me from doing this bad thing. I'm not doing the Russian accent anymore.
You just got to funnel the Red Guardian from Black Widow.
I'm not doing the Russian accent anymore.
That guy think he beat me.
I apologize.
That guy think he...
I'm so sorry. I should not try to be a Russian
You don't
person.
have to get all clinical and nasty.
No one gives a fuck about what you're saying.
No, I'm just saying that's how you can funnel your Russian accent.
Yeah, but I don't want to funnel a Russian. I've just said that. If you fucking shut up and stop quoting Black Widow for 5 seconds, you would hear me. So shut up. Do you want to hear these NATO demands or not?
Okay, give me the NATO demands.
Okay. I want your honest reaction to these NATO demands.
Sure.
So he pretty much said, I'm going to do something drastic if you don't comply with this. He's like, this can all be stopped if you do these 3 simple things.
Okay.
And NATO was like, okay, whatever, like, lay it on us. What do you want, Vladimir? The first one was that he said NATO will not expand any further into Eastern Europe.
Okay.
Because they're already coming for you. Ukraine was going to them, but they were already coming for Ukraine, and he was like, no. So stop advancing your organization into Eastern Europe.
Uh-huh.
Take all of your troops out of Eastern Europe. So any
Any NATO-related troops
Any NATO-related troops need to go out of Eastern Europe.
Wait, so they need to leave the countries that are... What about the countries in Eastern Europe that are already a part of NATO?
Go out. But no more troops in Eastern Europe.
But they're but it's those countries that are in Eastern Europe.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. No more troops in Eastern Europe.
He knows where Slovenia is, right?
Yep. No more troops in Eastern Europe.
Okay.
No more.
All right.
And the third one is that the US is not allowed to defend any of their Eastern European allies. So don't let anybody else into NATO. Take all of the NATO affiliated troops from those NATO affiliated countries out of their home countries and ship them off somewhere else.
That doesn't make any sense.
When they're not in Eastern Europe.
That doesn't make any sense.
And also, if someone decides to attack something in Eastern Europe, the US isn't allowed to do it. Yep. The
US isn't allowed to do anything.
The US is not allowed to do anything. We can do whatever we want.
I can understand being anti-US. Those other the second demand just doesn't make sense.
Do you know why I feel that this invasion had to happen?
Ooh. Really? You think it had to happen?
I do. I think it had to happen.
How bad will you feel if people die?
No. This is why I think it had to happen.
Okay.
Because these demands that Putin has put to NATO are so insanely unhinged that no one in their right mind would ask NATO for any of these things.
So you're just now realizing that Putin's unhinged?
No, I know Putin's unhinged.
Remember when he killed all of his political opponents?
Yep.
He killed journalists because they were anti-him.
He is unhinged.
He's a dictator.
He is insane.
Yes, and a dictator.
And nothing... Because the thing is, when you think about it as well...
we're going to think about it.
Yeah,
okay.
when you think about it as well... No more NATO members in Eastern Europe. No NATO troops in Eastern Europe.
That don't make any sense.
And the US is not able to come over and defend their allies in Eastern Europe.
That's just dumb.
Do you know what would have happened?
What?
That if NATO had said, yeah, sure, no problems, that would have happened. Russia would have invaded Ukraine.
Well, yeah.
It was always we didn't know it at the time, but it was always going to happen because Putin's agenda at the end of the day is to get the beginning of Mother Russia back. Because as soon as the USSR broke up, that was it. He has described that as the worst tragedy of the 20th century. And I sit there and go,
the failure of the USSR
is in Putin's mind is the worst tragedy of the 20th century.
Really? Okay.
Let's just forget the Holocaust. Let's just forget both of the world wars.
Let's forget about the genocide that the rebels did on Russia to get the Soviet Union.
Yep.
You know, like when they killed the royal family just 'cause.
Yep.
So
let's forget about all of that happened in the 20th century.
Yeah, the Holocaust, the Great Depression, Spanish flu, polio.
Because the USSR breaking up is obviously the biggest thing.
That's human liberation. That was the worst thing.
Yeah.
You know.
These are not,
because they love to call themselves communists, but they weren't.
These are not the comments
of a sane man.
Of a sane man.
No, it's true. Anyway, I don't know. I could see conflict getting messy if the United States intervenes. If the United States intervenes, Russia will return heavy fire on the US. At which point the US will reach out to NATO and its allies to come in. At that point, that would basically be World War III. But we'll see if that happens. I don't know. I feel like the US doesn't want it to happen, but also inflation's at 7% and their economy's shit, and war would actually be really good for them. It would actually help the economy. Yeah. It would stimulate it, which is really, well, that's what happened with both World War I and World War II. It's what led to the Great Depression after World War One. Economy really great. Oh shit, it's unsustainable. It crashed. Shit. Now we have no money. I don't know. And of course, if the US does go into Ukraine, they know what will happen because the US isn't stupid. They're evil, but they're not stupid. And of course, if the US does that, they'll be calling for all their little baby countries to follow them into the breach, which includes us.
Yeah.
Because we do everything Daddy US says.
Exactly.
Suck my penis, Australia. Yes, Daddy US.
I apologize to all the listeners out there. That was truly disgusting.
Yeah, it was, but it's true.
No, it is. But that's the thing. I just don't...
You don't.
I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't see...
You did all this research and you don't.
No, I don't. I don't. I just fucking don't.
You just don't.
I don't even.
I don't even.
No, I can't. Shut up. Let me get my point out.
Yeah, okay.
I just can't see how this is... Like, I can see how Putin may be using it as a negotiation tactic.
What a negotiation tactic
Exactly.
that is.
But then it's gone... That's when he's...
Bunter.
You know, that's when he's lining 100,000 troops. Like, on the 30th of January, he was lined 100,000 troops up on the border of Russia and Ukraine.
Sure.
That's a show of, I've got a big dick and I'm going to swing it.
Sure.
Now...
Because blood and sweat.
And then he's gone through and added another 90,000 troops on that border to make up almost... Because pretty much people were saying... Oh, well, you know, Putin's not serious about an invasion because he's only got 100,000 troops and you need at least double that for what, like, to actually even have a crack at invasion. He's got almost 200,000 troops on that border. Like, he literally went, I've got a big dick and I'm going to swing it, and then nobody reacted, so he swung it.
So you did all this research, and I like that view. You did all this research. Where did you gather this research? Because one of the big problems with this whole situation is propaganda. Which not a lot of... Well, most of the people spreading the propaganda aren't going to talk about propaganda because they're spreading the propaganda. Yeah. It's actually kind of insane. The mainstream media is, of course, sucking up to NATO and pushing them as the the great, because that's what they do.
But Russia's also doing the same thing.
There's so
with
much
Russian propaganda.
Yeah, I saw the video of like the reporter that was like running in a street somewhere, and like a little bomb goes off, and they like hide, and Russia was trying to use it as an example of Ukraine being the belligerent against neutral Russia, and I'm just like, oh, that's not good propaganda.
Yeah, so
Russia.
they're pretty because the Russian propaganda is that
Ukraine
has come on the offensive and Russia are going on the defensive.
Yeah.
While using... Because this is the thing, like...
I saw your missile strikes, Russia. Come on. Stop being...
No, but what happened is that people have actually gone back and looked at it, and they actually see that on the date that the missiles actually were launched... They've been putting out videos of the missile strikes hitting in Russia and going, oh no, this is Ukraine.
Ukraine?
No, hitting Russia.
Ukraine hasn't fired any missiles.
Just wait. The propaganda is
the propaganda.
The propaganda from Russia. Is that there are missiles being fired from Ukraine into Russia, and that's why this whole invasion is happening.
Right. Yes.
People have looked at it. And I've watched quite a few videos and read quite a few articles about this specific thing, is that people are able to pull the metadata off of the clips that are being used. And they're actually showing that these clips were pre-recorded 2 or 3 days prior to when Russia's saying that Ukraine fired the missiles.
Nice.
So Russia...
See, that's what lesson 1 of propaganda making.
So Russia is actually actively setting up a fake alibi.
Well, yeah, that's what propaganda is.
Yeah, they're setting up a fake alibi to invade Ukraine.
But there's plenty of and don't kill me for saying this, but there's plenty of pro-NATO and pro-Ukraine propaganda as well. It is all over Reddit. It is actually kind of gross. The amount you scroll through like the front page of Reddit, and there is so much pro-Ukraine propaganda of like Ukrainians going, "Oh, I'm here in Ukraine and I'm genuinely scared for my life," and I'm like, there's definitely Ukrainians that feel that way, but they're not posting on Reddit.
No,
I'm sorry. The sheer amount of them is kind of gross. Why would the CIA and NATO use this? I don't like it. I don't like the amount of propaganda. I don't like that I can't get a clear story on the invasion without it being colored by some kind of perspective. Like, people are like, oh yeah, people will be like to me, well, what's wrong with getting an anti-Russia perspective? And I'm like, yeah, because Russia is a belligerent. You got to include Russia's perspective on this and include that in the picture.
But Russia's...
Because otherwise it's like colouring in a black and white picture just in white.
But Russia's...
Or black, because I'm not racist.
But Russia's perspective on this is history-based.
Well, sure, but it's still part of their perspective.
Yeah, it's still part of their perspective, but it's history-based. It's something that they've gone, well, this land used to belong to us, and now we want it to belong to us again.
Sure.
Because we don't want NATO, and we don't want these people, because pretty much they didn't want NATO so close to their border.
Of course.
Because there's so much shit that goes on in Russia that NATO does not put up with, that if they get close enough, they might start exposing that.
Yeah.
And that's why Russia's freaked. That's why Putin's got the shits and freaked out, because NATO's getting closer. Because Ukraine's put a bid in to become part of NATO. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. That's the only reason I can see, is that Putin is a scared little boy that just has massive fucking toys and armies and, you know, planes and jets and tanks and shit to do what he likes with.
Yeah.
There's no need to invade a whole country just because you've got the spooks. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't think I'll ever understand it.
No, you're not. I don't think you're supposed to understand it.
No, you're not.
Part of the point.
Because we can't. The thing is, I'm coming at this from me going, like, I've done research and I've gone, well, obviously Russia's in the wrong here. Because obviously, like, if you have the mentality that you think that this kind of behavior is okay, it's not.
Well, okay, what's your perspective on when Australia and the US does the exact same thing, and we march into a Middle Eastern country because we don't like their culture and we think it's a threat to our culture, so we should stop it?
No, I'm not saying that this is just because it's Russia. I'm saying anything.
Okay.
Any country that goes into...
Just keep that same energy when we do it is all I'm saying.
So any country that goes into another country and just goes, you know what, I don't like the way you're doing things, we're just going to overthrow you and put our own thing. Exactly like what the US and Australia did with Afghanistan and Poland. They all did with Afghanistan. It's exactly what happened.
The first part of Afghanistan we weren't involved in. That was all of the CIA fighting with the Soviets. That was all CIA and Soviet bullshit. But then, yeah, the US whistled and we came running in the second half of the story.
And then you know, the US goes in and pretty much puts in, like, does exactly what they did with Ukraine. Puts in a functional government.
Functional.
Well, a diplomatic government.
A Western
government. A Western style government.
Yeah.
For what they need, and they give them all of this shit. You know, they give them weapons, and they give them planes, and they give them tanks and shit like that. Like, all of this shit, more than you can imagine.
Yeah, but then they run the country for them. So when they leave, the country falls apart. The Taliban just comes back.
And that's exactly what happened in Afghanistan.
Exactly.
And I don't see that as a good thing.
It's not a good thing.
I don't see any invasion as a good thing, but I particularly... I can't look past any of that shit that we've done or anything that the US has done, and I'm not looking past what Russia's done.
No.
Because Russia has taken the big guns and just fucking run with it. I'm not even speaking about Russia. When I say Russia, I'm not even talking about Russia.
Putin!
I'm talking about Putin. Like, he is out of control. and something needs to happen, or else we are going to have a third world war. It's going to start World War III. If this isn't nipped in the bud and contained really, really quickly, and a diplomatic solution is found, it's going to get fucked.
Yeah, well, every other war that the US has nearly started with Russia was not solved diplomatically.
No, but it needs to be solved diplomatically.
But you're just talking about how Putin is unreasonable and insane. Do you really think he's going to bend over to a diplomatic solution?
No, absolutely not.
There can't be a diplomatic solution to end this.
No, there can't be. But I'm not saying that they shouldn't at least try.
They have tried.
They have to try harder. What was the diplomatic solution? Putin makes a whole lot of demands. NATO says no. He cracks the shits and invades Ukraine.
Yes.
What's the diplomatic solution there?
There isn't one. That's what I'm saying.
No, there's not. But what's stopping NATO or the UN or anything from coming to the table and going, right, here's what we think we might be able to do?
The UN's done that.
Put something up. What have they done?
They've told Russia to stop and impose sanctions. That's what they can do. That's all they can do. Diplomatic.
Jack,
Diplomatically.
Stop talking. Stop talking.
Okay.
You're still talking. That's exactly what the UN did.
Yes.
What I just did to you is what the UN did to Russia.
Yes.
I'm the UN. You're Russia.
Yeah.
I told you to stop talking, and you were like, "What? Huh? What? No." That's exactly what happened. UN hasn't done fuck all.
Yeah, because the UN's pointless. That's what I'm saying. Diplomacy's out the window. Once you go to the.
Well, then let's just start a fucking war.
Well, that's what.
Honestly,
that's what Russia's done.
I'm sorry, but if every country is just going to sit on their ass and impose bullshit motherfucking sanctions every day,
Yep.
that aren't actually going to make a fucking difference to anything for the people in Ukraine that are clearly suffering right now, get the fuck in your planes, go over to Russia and bomb the motherfuckers. Bomb the crap out of them.
Well, then we're starting war.
Yeah, because we're starting. You know what? They've already started a war. Let's just finish it
with Ukraine. Not
That's
with
how
anybody.
every other.
Remember, Ukraine's not part of NATO, so according to NATO's structure, they haven't actually.
But what happens?
Declared war yet?
So what happens? What happened in the First World War? How did that start?
Some idiot assassinated Franz Ferdinand, and the Austro-Hungarians didn't like that.
Right. So the Austro-Hungarians fought who?
The Allies.
So it was all the Allies.
Yeah. So France, the UK, the US,
right?
Us. So New Zealand, Canada.
So who murdered Franz Ferdinand?
Who did murder Franz Ferdinand? I can't remember.
What nationality was it?
I cannot remember.
Okay. What I'm saying is that one little instance starts everything.
It did.
Because somebody gets murdered by somebody else. And then it's a quarrel. It's a quarrel between...
It was just a quarrel.
It's a quarrel between those two countries, and it gets blown up into something bigger.
It did.
World War II. Exactly the same.
Well, Hitler invaded Poland and...
Yep. So
Europe told him no.
So that was between Germany and Poland.
Yeah, and then the rest
and then everybody else
not everybody, but a lot of people said no, Hitler, don't do that.
A lot of people got involved with that.
Yes.
Russia invades Ukraine. It's exactly the same as it was back in World War II. One country is invading another country. Europe's going, no, we don't like that. Stop it. They go, no, fuck you. Everybody gets involved. So do something meaningful and diplomatic, if you can, or go to war.
War, what is it good for?
I have no other options left. If you're just going to sit there and, and sanction trillions and trillions of dollars, which isn't going to make a fucking dent in anything.
It could, because Russia still needs the rest of the world to survive.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? Well, what's that? That's not going to stop hundreds of thousands of people of dying, is it?
But that's what going to war will do, is kill hundreds of thousands of people.
So let's fast track it. If you're gonna kill people,
We don't know who would side with Russia, though. So you say let's go to war, but you don't know who would join Russia. You know that NATO, China doesn't like NATO and the United States, and if they join, that's a whole lot of fucking nukes.
Yeah.
Going everywhere, and China's army is massive.
Not as big as the US though.
Sure, but in all of those sums, you never combine other armies against the United States.
No, but the United States will not be the only superpower fighting against Russia.
True, but we don't know what other NATO countries might actually back out of a war with Russia.
Because the thing is, like, obviously you have, like, China will fight with Russia. North Korea.
That was just an example. I don't know.
North Korea would fight with Russia.
Sure.
You'd get Belarus on their side.
Sure.
Because, come on, Lukashenko is just fucking unhinged as well.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't... Look, the thing is, I don't want there to be a war. I know I'm very heavy on the whole war thing at the moment, but I don't want there to be a war. I don't want innocent people to die. I don't want this whole fucking catastrophe to happen. But something needs to be done about Vladimir Putin before shit gets way too out of hand. Because it's already out of hand. If it gets any more out of hand, we're going to have to resort to war. And it will be all out war. It's not going to be this fucking, like, Cold War shit. We're not going to fight, so we're going to spy on each other.
Nearly ended in World War III.
Yeah.
The Cold War.
Yeah, I know. Almost.
Big game of chicken.
Yeah.
Who's going to start it?
Russia.
Wasn't Russia at the time.
Come on, Russia's going to fucking start World War III if it happens.
Well, according to you, they just did.
If this war happens, if this turns into a global war, it'll all be because of Russia.
Yeah, that's what... And Russia will be proud of that.
Yeah, I know. And that's the problem with Russia. As I said, Russia is Vladimir Putin in this situation. I just keep saying Russia because it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
I have no further points. That's all I
Well,
have to
Tom
do.
and I are going to be conscripted. So let's just sign our suicide pact.
Yeah.
Sorry to our parents.
Yeah, sorry.
But we don't want to go and fight
Fuck off.
in a war that we don't want.
We are not going to war.
So...
I don't think conscription will be a thing, though.
Oh, Ukraine did it, so...
Yeah, I know Ukraine did it, but that was... I don't know. I don't want World War III. I really don't want it to happen. But if it happens, there's nothing that us common people can do about it.
Yes.
So we can just keep talking about it on our podcast, and I can keep saying fucking bomb Russia, but
please don't bomb Russia.
But you know what? Don't. If anyone is listening to this, don't bomb Russia. Because
Biden's listening.
No, because Biden, don't bomb Russia. No, because the thing is...
Biden, don't do it.
Because the thing is, it's not... Russia shouldn't have to pay for the mistakes and the illogical thinking and the irrationality of one man. Russia shouldn't have to pay for that. Vladimir Putin should have to pay for that. And I believe, after all the shit that Vladimir Putin's done, he should pay with his life.
No.
Just like Donald Trump should have been assassinated while he was in office.
Okay.
But
people tried.
I know they tried. I know people tried.
Trump 2024. He's coming back.
Please no. Please.
He's coming back.
I'm just...
You done?
I'm done.
We're done.
I'm
Question!
Shut up.
Sorry.
Now on a lighter topic, we're going to answer some more questions. Kill Putin. Anyway, question time. Okay. Right. So I have a question.
Good.
Because
you've read it.
No.
So you have a question.
So there's one here from Cohen, who was a guest on 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
This is an F1 related question. It's actually our first F1 related question.
Okay.
For a little while. So Colin asks, do you think Haas will ever win a Grand Prix?
Yes.
I think with the right gear and the right drivers, they could definitely do it. But they don't have the right gear and they don't have the right drivers.
Well, they don't have enough money. That's the problem.
Yeah, they don't have what they need to succeed. So
they could.
Look,
I'm not going to say no.
I'm not going to say no, but at this point in time...
But they did just remove their biggest sponsor because of the old Russia situation. So...
Have they actually removed them? Oh, shit. I did know that was...
And do you remember what that sponsor's biggest request was when they gave them...
Russian driver.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Kevin Magnussen's coming back. Oh, wait, no. Kevin didn't drive for... Oh, yes, he did.
He drove fast.
He did. Magnussen's coming back.
No, maybe Grosjean's coming.
No, he's deformed.
Still racing IndyCars pretty successfully.
That's actually a good point, but not so much this in an IndyCar, I don't think.
No, there's more.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's harder to drive an IndyCar.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Right, now we have...
Another one!
We have another question. Oh my God. I didn't even realize I wrote this one down. You remember our old mate Giuseppe Pizza Pie?
No.
Yeah. So Giuseppe Pizza Pie, who is actually I've figured out who he was. It's a mate of mine called John. Look.
Wow.
John,
don't dox Giuseppe Pizza Pie.
No, sorry, John. If you're listening to this, I am going to be a little bit mean to your name, but not really. It sounds like an old man name, but it's not. He's actually a cool hip kid.
All right.
That I spent some time with last year. So Giuseppe Pizza Pie asks, what is the airspeed velocity of an unlanded swallow?
Oh my God, not that freaking question again. Has he given us an answer?
No, he hasn't, but I found an answer.
Oh, good.
The answer is 10 meters per second.
Per second or just 10 meters per second?
No, 10 meters per second.
Okay.
That's the airspeed velocity of an unlanded swallow. So
there you go. We answered your question.
Thanks for that one, Giuseppe Pizza Pie. We've actually finally answered that. Do we have time for a couple more?
One more short one.
I think we have time for a couple more. Okay. This one comes from... This is a first-time question in. This one comes from Kate.
Okay.
Spelled C-A-T-E. Sorry, not K-A-T-E. C-A-T-E. This is actually one of Abby's friends. So...
You're just doxing all these people today, Tom. Just doxing.
Wow, Katie. You want me to read a question from Jake then?
Wait, who's Jake?
Jake. You know, first...
Don't do it.
Our first guest.
Oh, there you go. That's all right then. Yeah. You were going to do it for a second.
My cousin.
What Doxed. What did Kate say?
No. Okay, so I'll ask Kate. I'll ask Jake's question first, and then I'll ask Kate's.
Far out.
Because Jake's question is...
We've been here for so long. Just ask one question.
No, Jake's question is it really that bad to accidentally dox your own dad on a podcast?
No. There we go.
No. All right. Thanks, Jake. Kate asked, would you rather be a rock or a tree? Thorough justification needed.
Kate, I don't like existential questions like this. They make me nervous and make me want to pee.
Cool. Jack, rock or tree?
I'd be a tree.
Why?
'Cause in the breeze.
Right, Kate, please write in at Jack and Tom Save the World podcast, either on Facebook or Instagram, and let us know if that was thorough justification enough. I would be a tree as well, because I would breathe in the carbon dioxide and expel oxygen.
That is not how it works, but I'll give it to you.
It's a photosynthesis kind
of thing. No, that is not what photosynthesis is at all.
It's a fucking photosynthesis thing.
No, it's not. Photosynthesis is how plants turn sunlight into itty McJigger.
Yeah, photosynthesis
molecules.
Is your dad.
And with that stupid ass comment from Tom, we're going to wrap it up.
We are going to wrap it up. But everyone, there are some new developments this week. There are.
No, I know what they are.
Okay. As always with our socials, if you do want to get in touch with us, Jack and Tom Save the World Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. You can email us at jackandtomsavetheworldpodcast@gmail.com. And starting this week, if you guys
Forgive us,
please. If you, like Jack and I, both enjoy scrolling through a bit of TikTok on your days and of your nights when you can't get to sleep at 3 a.m. and then you wonder why you're late to work in the morning, Jack and Tom Save the World Podcast is also now on TikTok. So we will be posting content on there shortly. We are editing up some funny grabs from our episodes and we'll be posting them on TikTok. So jump on TikTok, follow us at Jack and Tom Save the World. It's not podcast because the username wasn't long enough for me to write podcast at the end. But yeah, we are now on Facebook, Instagram, email, and TikTok, and also BuzzFeed.
we're on email.
We're on email.
We got email. It's 1991.
We get it. You've got email.
And with that, we send farewell.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Farewell.
And go gentle into that sweet night.
Yes, and don't invade other countries because it's bad.
It is bad.
All right. See you guys next week.
Goodbye.